Good day, everybody. This is another episode of Clicks Over Coffee.
So supposed to watching it at night.
Good, whatever time it is. This is Clicks Over Coffee, right? I'm your host Raheem. This is
Israel.
and today we have another guest,
Intern Jodie.
Intern
Hi,
Jodie, right? She's joined us this week, and so we kind of kidnapped her and brought her on to this kind of podcast.
We ain't kidnapped nobody.
Right.
Okay? There's gonna be no blink.
Let me-
no blink wants to say nothing. Nobody ain't get kidnapped.
Right.
Jodie is here of her own free will.
Yes. Sure. Right. So yeah.
Coming up through the edits now.
So it's been a minute since we've been here, and I think our last podcast episode was uploaded sometime in March.
Don't ask me the date.
I don't know. I was hoping, dog. Like, but anyways, right? Right. But a lot has happened since our last.
A lot
podcast,
has happened.
Right?
A lot has happened with us. A lot has happened in the world.
Yeah. So like, we're just gonna be covering just a range of topics this episode to start off, catching you guys up with what's happened with us.
Yeah.
So we can go. Let's say pull back to March. What have you been working on with
Well,
March?
Sicily, 1922. Was it 1912?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been working on quite a bit. We've been continuing to work with Farmers Choice.
Yeah.
Just working on different campaigns. And then we did the Rally campaign.
Yeah.
We did the Easter campaign. We did Destination Disney.
Yeah.
There was a lot.
Yeah.
Mother's Day, the partnership with Oysters Fish Festival. We worked with them also on preparing for summer. They have a summer campaign that they're working on. And along with other things, we actually worked with the Oceania Innovation Hub that would have launched this week.
Yes, recently.
Recently. So we worked on the branding for that. We're also working on the social media. Jodie's actually designing an amazing brochure. Yeah, tell us a bit about the brochure.
Well,
What we hope it will be.
Don't get nervous. No.
What's the brochure going to be? What's it going to be like?
well, the brochure is going to be hexagonal because that is the main shape that you could find throughout Oceania's branding. So I just wanted to bring that back into the brochure. I wanted the brochure to be kind of fun and dynamic, using the colors, the different shapes, you know.
Yeah. And like there's some prototypes that Jodie did. We haven't seen prototyping in here in a long time.
Yeah.
Michael is usually the prototype person. So you were actually sitting at Michael's desk and had all these like cutouts and papers and everything. It was like
Taking on the spirit.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Leave that some for him though. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are some of the things that we've been working on.
Yeah. And actually, like today's episode, we're kind of like gonna be talking about a topic concept kind of like called the tipping point. We kind of brought it from the book Malcolm Gladwell.
The Tipping Point by
Right.
Malcolm Gladwell.
And
Excellent writer.
yeah.
Amazing book.
Yeah.
I haven't
Right.
finished it yet, but it's a really
Yeah.
good read.
Yeah, from the little you kind of described to me, the tipping point was kind of like talking about all the little things and little actions that and the consequences that kind of add up to kind of like big shifts in either like in influence in cultural norms and things like that, right? And we were kind of like earlier we were kind of discussing we were discussing like when we were at the Oceania Innovation Hub and that launch, how you realized you knew a lot more people than you thought, right?
Yes.
And
My
then,
network is a lot bigger than they thought it was.
yeah, right. When we were having a conversation with our friend Kevon,
Yeah.
right, and he was saying, he actually complimented Ideas. He said when he found out that Ideas was working on the project, he was like, "Oh yeah, for sure, y'all can get some good work from them, right?"
Yeah.
Right, and it was like kind of like a reminder for us that people know of us and know of our work, and like our reputation kind of speaks for itself, right? And I kind of saw that as like a small example of how like the little actions that you take, you know, showing good work, being on meeting deadlines, like a commitment to quality, kind of builds up over time to cement in that idea that, you know, when somebody sees your name or your brand or whatever, they know they're getting quality. They know they're getting professionalism, right? So I saw that as one example of the tipping point kind of playing out in that way.
Another thing for me too was like walking around the event. I'm like shaking hands and smiling with people and hugging people and talking to people. I'm like, how old is this an episode of This Is Your Life? I don't know what's going on. Like, so many people here. So it was a reminder that, you know, your network can be so much bigger than you think it actually is. You meet people remember you. There was a lady there that I bought my bike rack from my car from, and she saw me and she's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And then we were talking. I still don't know her name. But sorry if you're watching this, I don't remember your name, but it was nice to meet you. But, and so just as a reminder that you leave an impression with people, something little that you may do, something small that you may do leaves a big impression. And that makes a big difference. So the whole principle and concept of the book is how little things can make a big difference.
Yeah.
And we see that in the world around us in terms of little things happening, things piling up, and then they end up making a big difference.
Yeah. And I think that kind of speaks to something that we're feeling right now both in Barbados and the world at large, where, I would say, I don't even know
if they're little things. But
not little things, but it's like, I don't even know if it started with 2020. I feel like the world just had a whole server reset, but like,
the world needs a server reset at this point.
It needs another server reset, but like, no, and to start with local, obviously there's big events like stuff going on with Trump, the tensions with China, the tariffs, this or that, the Iranian and Israeli war, Israel-Palestine. Like there's a lot going on.
Russia-Ukraine.
Yeah, Russia-Ukraine. Like there's been a lot of things that's kind of built up overall.
Funny enough, like there could be a company, just a total digression. Like, how to have U-Haul? Imagine if you rented the crane and operated it yourself. It could be Ukraine.
So we're going back to local stuff, right?
Business idea, hit me up if you want to invest.
We kind of in this time where people are kind of noticing that crime has been, I don't even know if it's been on the rise. I think you could say it's been on the rise, but it's not just that it's been on the rise, it's that it's becoming more and more brazen.
Yes.
People are getting robbed in public. Sorry, not in public. In public.
Right, in public, yeah.
But like in daylight too. Or I think it's daylight, right?
Public.
And like times you would not expect crime to be happening is happening, right?
And places like things that people take for granted that they do. Just last night, a nurse was leaving her job at the hospital, and she was walking and she got robbed. Something that she's probably done countless times.
Yeah.
It happened in St. Philip. It happened. A lady was driving last night going home. She parked in front of the house. Somebody came and robbed her in front of her house. It's like,
like I think earlier this week somebody sent. I think it was yesterday. Somebody sent a picture of a guy who's reportedly been known to target women, rob them when coming out to the supermarket, right? And funny enough, a friend of mine actually knows the guy, like not like in a friend kind of way, but he said he had a conversation with him once. So it was weird seeing him, seeing a picture of somebody that he had a conversation with doing these things.
That's not the power of a network, right?
Yeah.
No, right. That's not the type of networking we need.
Yeah, right. But
call the police.
Call the police. But it was we say all these things like the crime and has kind of got out of hand. Like these little things, like, have been increasing and increasing over the years, right? Like, because I remember back in 2019 was a year for like having the most murders in the year or some other time period, right? I think each year has been trying to beat that record.
Yeah.
Right?
2019 was the year like everybody was like, boy, you can't wait for 2020, boy. 2020 is gonna be your year. Yes. Right? Little do we know.
Yeah, right. But I'd say all of that to say that no, people are starting to feel a little less safe and a little like what's going on in Barbados, right? And at least on the politician side, it feels like there's a disconnect between what they're seeing and what we're experiencing, right? And I even wonder, like, as a young person, younger than me now, what that must feel like now that you're kind of coming into a world where you just got here, but like kind of feels like the world
just got here.
Like kind
the
of
package has arrived.
it's like you've now reached adulthood, but it kind of feels like the world is like the world is like falling apart around you, right?
It's so scary to think about that. Now I'm at an age where I am able to do a bit more things with my freedom.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it. It feels like I have to be extra cautious and extra careful.
Yeah.
And also with the things that you say, you could get bashed for anything at this point. And then you could also go viral for things that you thought, like let's say you have an account and you're posting it for fun, you could get so much backlash, and it's just really discouraging to want to put yourself out or just try new things because you're kind of scared of what might
public
happen.
opinion thing. Because it can't get quite out of hand. Like this is not really connected to this particular topic.
Everything is connected,
but I understand where Jodie's concerned. There's like a Twitch streamer, so named Jason, right? And
of course I know, right? Twitch streamer,
right? Yeah, I know, kind of outside your wheelhouse there, but like, so he's had this whole like pseudo relationship date thing going on with like another like a social media influencer, and then like they have went on this event called Streamer Prom, and then while on the prom, like she started like it was showing like she was kind of like feeling the cameraman more than she was feeling the original streamer, and like that turned into its whole thing. Like everybody's like, oh, like that turned into its kind of own little drama, right? And like you can see that the parasocial relationships are like kind of getting like out of hand. I say all that to say is like it's weird how something that people do not necessarily, as Jodie said, to be taken too seriously can now be criticized as if it's like law. It's like as if it's like the biggest, most important thing in the world, right?
Because everybody thinks that because you're on social media and you may have like a decent following, you have a platform and you have to use it for this or you have to use it for that. I remember back in the Black Lives Matter, everybody was like, oh, you need to put up a black square. You need to put up a black square on your profile. And people were pressuring me, telling me, oh, are you going to put up your black square? And I was like, for what? Like, why? And people were like, oh, but no, it's like, I was like, firstly, I'm not in America. Secondly, there's so much more you can do. Why is it just, and Pierce Morgan talks about this all the time, why is it just you're putting up a black square? That's virtue signaling, because you could be doing so much more. So it's not as though you're not doing anything, but people want this performative sort of response rather than, am I doing stuff in the background? Am I actually learning in the background? Am I figuring things out in the background? Am I doing things? Oh, no, just put up a black square because everyone's going to see it. You know? And so like what you do comes under so much scrutiny. You're not necessarily allowed to be yourself. You kind of have to be like a facade of what people want you to be, or what's expected of you in the social space.
And then that also plays into politics. Let's say you have a certain opinion about something. If it's the wrong opinion, you're gonna get bashed for it as well. So as a younger person, it feels as though you have to do the right thing. Like you have to
toe the line.
Exactly. So
like you're not allowed to just say what you want, be who you want to be. You kind of have to be like, what's the pulse of today? Let me go with that flow because I don't want to get canceled.
And then what happens when you change your mind in something that you want to do and you don't want to do it anymore? People are going to be like, oh, you're so fake. You were doing this, but now you're doing this. So
when maybe the second thing you're doing is what you really wanted to do in the first place. So that's interesting.
So I kind of see this as like that this experience, like it's called social media, but I think funny enough, like I'm having conversations with friends and a lot of them are actually kind of regressing from social media. And you know, like I know of a couple of friends that they're like, you know, they don't want to be doom scrolling all the time, right? They rather like, if they're on Instagram, they're on Instagram for like this amount of time, and they're only doing this specific thing, and then after they're off, right? And so, which I find is funny because for my generation, we grew up with the craze of the internet, like the biggest rise of the internet, kind of going from like 2009, 2010 upwards, right? And I would have been like about 11 or so around that time. So I remember I grew up with the ages of Facebook and Twitter and then the Instagram, and then the Vine, and then
We grew up with TV.
right, and then the yeah, exactly. I mean, I grew up with TV too, right? I grew up with TV
For
too,
you,
but
it was like in the middle.
it was
Yeah.
like the middle child. It was like the middle
Yeah,
child of it, right?
yeah,
We
yeah.
didn't grow up with all these things being in place. We grew up on the rise of it, and now like
We
we've
grew up at
kind
the
of
start of it.
you're right. We
Yeah.
yeah. Start. And now that we've kind of like grown now, we're on like the decliners. Like, okay, yeah, we've had enough of this. Let's get back to reality. Let's touch grass, go outside.
And there's a significant age gap between all of us, right?
Yeah,
Like, I am
right.
probably almost 20 years older than you, Jodie, and like 11 years
Yeah,
older than you.
yeah.
So how is it for you in terms of what he's saying? Do you feel that same thing, or is it?
I do actually, but the difference is I see myself doom scrolling,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like, but there's nothing else to do.
Mm.
Right.
Okay.
When I could just go outside. I know that I want to go outside,
Mm-hmm.
but it feels more.
Maybe there's gonna be something
Something
interesting,
extra.
like
because
Yeah.
maybe the next
curated
swipe.
for-
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
You keep looking. For
Don't worry, it
something.
happens.
Yeah,
it happens to all of us.
It even happens to me
It's
too.
like
right?
maybe on the next swipe
Right.
is gonna be that thing.
Yeah.
Gonna go again just
Yeah.
in case.
Yeah.
I don't want to make like fear of
Yeah,
missing out,
right?
like
Yeah.
FOMO.
Yeah,
Right.
eventually though, you do kind of get off and just find something to do. But that's
The
only
hour has
after.
passed.
I actually want to tap into that thing you said, like, you know, when you're doom scrolling, obviously you don't want, like, even if you're cautious of the fact you don't want to be doing this, you don't have anything else other to do.
Mhm.
And I think that is a symptom of a lack of third spaces in Barbados, where it
Okay.
like a lack of, like, when I say lack of third spaces, I mean like, so most people is like school or work at home, right?
Mhm.
Those are the two main areas of their lives, but there's no place that you can just say, yo, mom, dad, I hopping out and I go into this place, and it's a place where you don't have to spend money just to
I got
be,
you.
right?
I get you.
Right? Like, you could just go to the park and chill with some friends, or you guys organize chill with some friends just to hang out at this particular place, and you don't gotta spend more than, like, say $10 just to be. There are some places. There's some.
go.
There's some areas, like, I think Quayside is sort of that way, kind of in that realm,
Mhm.
where the square is kind of in that realm, but like, there's still that element of I have to spend money to go, right?
Yeah.
And then
No, you don't have to spend money for entry, but you still you're there. You're
you
gonna
gotta
buy food.
something, right? So it's like just, so then with the rising economic pressures now, it's kind of like, I could go outside, spend gas, spend money to hang out with my friends somewhere else, but I could also just stay home and be on the internet and relatively get a similar amount of entertainment,
Yeah.
right?
Because I guess there's only so many times you can go to the beach.
Exactly.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
but there are places, like there are parks, like there's King George, there's Queen's Park, there's.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and I get it. It's not the same as it was like when I was growing up.
Yeah.
You know, it's different, and we don't use parks in Barbados like I think Americans use parks. I think probably the one place that we would probably use like that is the botanical gardens, where people literally go to the botanical gardens and like, sit down and hang out, put down like a sheet and hang out.
I did that once recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that?
It was really good. Actually, funny if I did it because I was like, yo, I'm tired of parties. No, I say that. Truth is, I'm not actually tired of parties. I was just frustrated with a party that I had went to. And I was like,
The old fam, you're old.
I was just like, there's no way I spent this much money to go to a party that sucked. And so I was like, my friends like, yo, like, to hang out, we really love.
We could do better.
We could do something else. So I was just like, I organized it. I was like, let's have a whole picnic day. We go and we went to botanical gardens, started food and everything like that. We played like a couple games, like three-legged race and all sorts of.
I find that a lot more people are doing that with botanical gardens, because I actually did that with my church as well.
Okay, yeah. Right, so like it was a nice change of pace, and something I think I would do it a lot more. Like, I actually don't spend that much time on my phone. Like, you can attest to this, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so is it that there's a lack of third spaces, or there's a lack of use of the third spaces that we have? Because we've gotten so digital, we've gotten so used to being inside, so used to the consoles, so used to the computers, so used to the phones, that we're not utilizing the third spaces that we have in the ways we could. You know, and those opportunities, because Graham Hall Nature Sanctuary just opened back up.
Yeah, which I want to. I want to.
People can go to Hayman's Market and hang out. Like
Hayman's is
that's a nice place you can go hang out. It's far, but the experience is amazing.
It's very good, very good.
And I think this is a total aside. I think they could do something very similar to Hayman's Market with Buckley's Factory in St. George. Like, Buckley's Factory. No. The trailway. Oh
yes,
gosh, right. Trailway. There's an old dilapidated factory along that trailway. Yeah, the Buckley's Factory, they could do the same thing. If anybody wants, to invest in it, hit me up. I got the ideas. Guys, come on, let's do this. But no, seriously, I think Hayman's Market to me is a beautiful model of what a mall in the Caribbean should look like. Like, why should our malls be air conditioned, enclosed, glass and concrete? Like, that's brilliant. It's like an indoor-outdoor space, and it just feels
like the air in.
It feels open and airy and homey. We could have more.
Very welcoming, honestly.
It's very welcoming. So there's so much more that we could do.
Yeah, I see that going back to the same concept we're talking about tipping points. Like, I see that there's so many different things that kind of contributed to why some things are the way they are, like culture in terms of like cultural norms, right? And but I also see that because we've gone so say just the stats with like social media or internet whatnot, because it's pushed people to there's a period we were all addicted to internet. All you wanted to be was online. Because we've gone so far left, we're like, okay, let's bring this back. Right? So I think it might turn into a time where with more time, people do start to kind of crawl back out and be like,
crawl back out. Oh my eyes, the light.
I agree with you, because not only that, but the information that we're getting online is also a lot of negative information.
Yes. So if online is no longer,
people are gonna want to get away from that. So I can see how people are just gonna want to.
And not only is it no negative information, it's often it can be very misleading, because now with AI being so realistic, you can't tell the difference.
Y'all have seen those videos with the fake AI videos?
Yes,
but it's creepy. And they're talking about my prompter or something like that. My prompter wants me to do this, etc. My prompter likes me to wear these socks in every video. I'm like, this is so dystopian. It is
a Black Mirror episode. We're living in the Black Mirror episode.
And there was one that was so good. There was this guy talking to another guy. They were at a restaurant, had all the background noises. If you listened to the background conversations, they were intelligible conversations. There was a woman in the booth. So he was talking to two guys. Obviously, it's from his perspective, through his eyes. See what I'm talking about. But through the main character's eyes, talking to two different people. But there are two women there with the kids, and then there are other people beyond them. And if you listen carefully, they're having intelligible conversations. She's talking about a play date she wants to organize with the kids, and how they could take the cushions out the chair and put them on the ground with mattresses and whatnot. And that is the side conversation.
That's crazy.
That is not the main conversation that's going on. Get off the internet.
Yeah, AI is actually going to be the death of the internet, because literally, when it's going to go in two different directions. There's going to become people that are probably going to embrace AI technology and going to have fun with it, create art and whatnot, and there are going to be instances where that's cool. But there are going to be people yo, I don't want to see nothing that look fake or smell fake or anything like that, right? It's like especially Twitter too. It's just yo, let's verify this first, and when you go on the internet, you can no longer, especially given that Twitter is partly a bit of a instant news platform. If I can't trust the information that's on there, why am I on there, right?
So because why is the tipping point at which we lose touch with reality online? Yeah. For example, I saw there was this fake video, this AI video of newscasters. They were reading a news report about how AI is taking over, and it was an AI news report about AI taking. I was like,
the method dimensions and all that,
and immediately that took me to a sci-fi picture where somebody's walking through very much like Blade Runner 2049, and you're walking through the city streets, and up on a big screen is a news report.
Yeah,
and in my mind I was like, we are gonna reach a point where the newscaster is no longer human.
Yeah.
There's going to be no more need for a TV presenter because it's just going to be an AI talking head reading whatever it's fed or creating whatever it needs to create. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mind blown. You know, and people think that I could make sound like an AI conspiratist. So what? But there's so much that is being taken over, and for us, there will come a point where we have to be like, and human beings are going to make a decision very soon. I don't believe we're going to get to the point of Terminator. Like, I don't believe that. But a lot of what we take for granted will be upended.
Yeah.
A lot of what we take for granted is going to change in terms of like how we live, how we interact with technology, how we interact with media. It is.
Yeah.
How we interact with each other.
Yeah, each
Yes.
other, yes.
I think it's going to drive us to interact with each other more in person, because
That's what I was
if you
gonna say.
like to the point you were making, if we can't trust what we're seeing online anymore, let me go out and
Yeah,
experience
maybe
life
touch
in the
some
real
grass.
world and interact with human beings.
Because this is a sidebar, but I
This
also,
whole conversation's been a
this is
sidebar.
I
Are we
also-
even going to bring it back?
I also thought like the more advanced AI gets, I actually think the more valuable photographers are going to be, because when it comes to an event,
Mm-hmm.
right? When I take a picture, that's a real picture. Like, that event happened. You
I'm a
can
real boy.
like you can AI manufacture it to look like that event, but like somebody's gonna ask you, like, okay, like say if you were a photographer and your whole job is like entering photos in about real events, right?
Mm-hmm.
That photo, like the value of that photo becomes the fact that you were really there, you really took this picture, and this really happened,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like I'm sure there's gonna be like a program that verifies if something is crafted through AI technology. So like, I think the value of a single photo of real events and pertinent events is going to potentially make photographers more valuable. But I digress. I don't know the economics of the whole situation.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so much that's happening in our world. I think so many of these things are creating anxieties among people.
Yeah.
So many of these things are creating situations where people aren't sure. And I think we have a rise in anxiety across the world. I mean, locally, we're seeing a rise in anxiety on the side of average citizens, and probably on the side of those who are committing the crimes as well.
Yeah.
Like, we're not to be too sympathetic to criminals, but I mean, you do need to face the reality of life. Like, there are people who they don't have basics, and they're thinking that they need to get those basics. They're thinking like, I need food. I need shelter, I need money, and somebody across the road is an easy target, and somebody gives you a gun, and you're like, well, not to excuse it, but in the mind that is in the moment and broken and thinking I need these things, and you probably have more of it than I do, so I'm just going to take from you. That's a sad place to be, and that's a sad place for our society to be. What series of little events have brought us to this point? For example, we have a situation where in politics, we have 2 times the current government has won a 30 love, where they won all the seats in parliament. There's a reason why you have an opposition. When people are frustrated with the government, an opposition gives them a hope to say, well, maybe in the next 3 to 5 years, we could vote out the current government and put you in. When you do not have a strong opposition or any opposition, people don't have that hope anymore. People feel frustrated with the current government, but then what do I do? Putting comments under a video of a newscast is only going to do so much, to alleviate your strain and your stress. So people start taking matters into their own hands. And that's what we're seeing today, where you have rising prices, rising taxes, stagnant wages. All of these things are the little things that make a big difference, that end up to the situation we're seeing today. Last year, for the year, we had 29 murders? We are at 25. It is June. The current trend we're on, we will be at 52 murders at the end of the year. That is wild. So again, these little things add up. And then you have communities. Now there's a balancing act. So you keep hearing a whole of nation approach is needed. It's true, but a whole of nation approach needs to be led by its government.
Yeah.
We cannot put on the people the responsibility to alleviate crimes that they did not commit. But what we're seeing is a government saying a whole of nation approach is needed. We're continuing conversations at pace. But all that means is you're talking. Am I seeing the actions?
Yeah. With that, I wanted to add to the same little tipping points. The amount of violence, you also don't see anything saying, "Oh, this person has been caught," or "This person is guilty." So I feel like that also adds to people thinking, "Oh, we can get away with this without getting caught."
And it's not as though it's not happening, you know.
Yeah.
The police are quite good at catching criminals. Part of the problem is the criminals get caught, they get bail, and they go back out on the street. The case is called in 5 years, 10 years. You know, and so the police do their job, but the judicial system is backlogged. You know?
Actually, I mean, I'm not saying police don't do their job, but I also feel like there's some weakening of the police force.
They're understaffed.
Yeah, right? Because, like, that, I'm not sure if it was this week or last week, but, like, when we saw those photos of the two ladies that caught robbed, and the guys came in with a chainsaw,
like a circular saw, and go behind them and cut open the door.
I cut open the door, and when we were talking about it, we were like, "Yo, I've never seen somebody go to that much lengths to get into somebody's house, right?
Yeah.
In a word, I said it was kind of like you gotta be concerned when people start getting crafty.
When you start getting creative,
I
ain't bothered. Let me be creative, please.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You stick to what you know.
It's like when you start coming up with solutions and putting 2 and 4 and getting 12. Like that's when I can be like, that's when I can be like, all right, yeah. Clearly, like we're losing the plot a little bit, and you can't act like. The thing is, some people can then make the argument that this is a reason for why citizens should have guns, right? Kind of like taking on the American approach. But I can be honest with you, as much as I don't feel safe that criminals are doing this, I feel a lot less safe when the average person.
It's bad enough that bullets are flying in one direction,
right?
When they start flying in both,
right? Like I don't want the average Joe to have a gun, like somebody once told me, when we're having a discussion about gun violence and like gun ownership and things like that, is like what makes me feel safe at night isn't owning a gun, is the knowledge that you probably don't have one.
Yes.
Right? Right? But like when that starts being the norm now, people could definitely stop being outside.
Yeah, and increasing violence is never the cause.
Nightlife gone, right? And that's a
problem.
Actually
happening.
That's a problem too. That
businesses are closing earlier.
Yeah,
buses are stopping. Buses are stopping earlier.
Yeah,
because even like in the original spate of violence they had in 6 roads at the start of the year or the end of last year, Bayfield buses were finishing running at 4:30.
Yeah, I think it was some vans start running after a certain time too, because like we all know the infamous the Van Wyck situation, right? And
even back then, van drivers were like, we can cut off earlier because. And what does that do now for the people who rely on the bus to get home?
Like graveyard shifts, workers.
You understand? Like then it puts pressure now where you don't have a reliable transportation system. Whereas before, the business may have a shuttle service that can take you to the bus terminal. You could get a bus. Now the business gonna have a shuttle service that can take you home.
Yeah.
But then you have KFC drivers getting robbed, etc. That has happened. Yeah, a KFC driver got robbed one time. Not doing deliveries going about doing food deliveries because you can get food. He might be hungry.
Yeah.
But it was a KFC vehicle, but it wasn't the delivery car. But they got robbed, and it's like,
I kind of feel this might sound like I'm making a joke, but I'm actually being serious. I feel like we've lost a society when we start robbing people that deliver our food.
Listen, you have it. Listen to me. I want my KFC.
It's like no. I feel because my head
that sounds like a first world problem.
I know, but like in my head, right? I'm like Chapette and KFC are like Switzerland. It's like this is neutral ground here, guys. Like we don't rob like our national treasures,
right? Like leave the delivery people alone. This is neutral territory.
It does not need to get bad Chicago, we need to start robbing. Because like if start robbing KFC people and like that becomes a bigger and bigger issue, then deliveries is no longer gonna be a viable option for people. Because like I send that guy out, I have no guarantee that he's gonna come back safe.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So like
and so I think those are the little tipping points too that add up. Those things build up, and they create an unsafe society. They create a space where people don't feel like they can go and enjoy, have a nightlife, that kind of thing, and it leads to social diffusion, really and truly. Like things go away.
Yeah, same thing with like when you talk about nightlife, Bridgetown for a while now has like after a certain hours is a ghost town.
Has always been.
Right.
4:30? Don't look at Bridgetown.
It's kind of unfortunate because I think Bridgetown looks really nice, especially at night.
Yeah, right. But because one thing I noticed when I was like last year when I went to Canada, and we were leaving a party, and it was like 3:30 something in the night, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, granted, it's a bigger city, but one of the things I thought was cool was the fact that we were leaving a party and outside still pretty much looked kind of bright. Like there's lights on, there's activity. Like I saw a group of teenagers like liming by like having this passionate conversation by the subway stairs, and I was like, that's kind of what I want to be seeing in British. Like people can still feel like there's so much people outside on a night, but so much people outside on a night that you feel safe. That if no matter what, like going up at relative hours in the night, you can go, you feel safe, and you don't have to worry about somebody robbing you.
Yeah,
right.
Because like tipping points, I think, is all about the compound effect of multiple things stacked on top of each other, and that's an example of positive tipping points.
Yeah.
For example, just having Bridgetown lit well at night.
Lit well, yeah.
Having a middle class living in Bridgetown, because right now you don't have a middle class living in Bridgetown, where you don't have like young working professionals living in Bridgetown.
Yeah.
That living and finding nightlife and working in Bridgetown, that would be ideal. So I think that's what the government was planning to do with Treasury Building, turning it into apartments, where the ground floor would be like cafes and shops or something like that. The floor above would be like a co-working space, and then from the third floor and above would be apartments. They would convert it to apartments. I would love to see that happen. Yeah, it's one project that I really would love to see the government execute on. Is that would transform Bridgetown immediately, because you would have young working class 20s and 30 somethings living in Bridgetown, and then that means that they're gonna want a nightlife. So you don't have to travel now. Like if you're living or working in Bridgetown, or you're working from home and you're there, you could pop outside and you can have coffee. You can go hang out with your friends and all that sort of stuff. It changes the landscape.
That's the same concept with like someplace like Toronto or New York. Like people come to live, they want to be in the city. They want to live that city life, the active city life, the randomness, the stories, all of the interconnected things that could happen in the city. But like down here, we want to leave. We want to go out of the city.
Businesses want to leave the city. People want to get out the city. 4:30, gone, work done.
You don't want to see the city. I say, if I would like to see a world where that is flipped.
Yeah,
right. Like obviously, I still treasure the urban. I don't know if urban is the right word, but like the more like quieter suburban life of Barbados. I think that always have its place. But I think
fancy.
Yes, tell the whole camera. Tell the
what?
word.
He lives in a fancy neighborhood.
We can just beat that.
You're editing it.
Yeah, we can just beat that out. But
you're editing it,
right? But seeing more people want to be in the heart of where Barbados is, right? I mean that will take time. But it also would take something kind of like design thinking and like design influence, right? Which is something we also like kind of bring it back to what we were talking about earlier, the reputation that we built up as a company now. That's something that we've like the actions we taken to kind of build that up over time that's something that would have to be practiced by the government and other businesses and like several different initiatives coming together to kind of like eventually
tip things over to the positive side. Because to be fair, it is not all on the government.
Yeah.
But I think what the government needs to do is create a space or a framework where when people have these good ideas, they can be executed upon easily. Like you don't face, I mean, and the government still has to protect certain things, but you don't face like tremendous like zoning issues, or you don't run into a lot of red tape and bureaucracy just to get a good idea off the ground. You know, because like I talked about Buckley Factory, I'm very sure that would take a tremendous amount of work to get done. Like, I'm pretty sure that would be a headache, if the right person isn't involved. You know, but it would be amazing. In the center of the island in St. George, something like that. You know, that'd be great. In an area where there is nothing.
But especially given that it's in the middle of the island, like, so many things I feel like are, if it is great for one person, it's not great for another person, right? Because Hammond's, for people that live in St. James and
St. Peter,
like, Hammond's is a great spot.
Absolutely great.
Right there, right?
I live in Christchurch.
Well, I live in Christchurch, right?
Exactly. Oh, so Hammond's is right next door to you. You're like,
right? School cross, right? but you know, then say where some more activities might be happening, like Worthy Square or Coverley, you know, that's great for me.
Do you know what a Worthing Square is?
Yes.
I'm just checking.
You know what a Coverley is?
You have this from up north. We don't know. We don't know,
right? But like, so that's great for places like me. But obviously the opposite effect. So it's like if there was like a one place where it's like everybody can get here, right? No matter what part. Yeah, it's like a middle
like
ground.
replicating similar experiences across the island.
Yeah.
So where something similar is happening at Hammond, something similar could be happening in St. George, something similar could be happening in Christchurch, etc., etc. Where it's not the same thing, but you're creating similar spaces. Yeah. Similar third spaces to allow people to get out. Because it's funny, because I think the demographic of young men who the police will want to fill their ranks are the demographic of young men that are committing crime. What opportunities do they have? You know, you hear talk about jobs, but a lot of the jobs are jobs that are transient. So you have construction jobs, or I got a weed whacker. You know, people love to give young men weed whackers and be like, hey, you know, you can be gainfully employed. How many patches of grass are going in Barbados to cut? How many young men walking about with weed whackers? It's like all the young women doing hair and nails.
Also, like the stereotypes too. Like, so I got this little tidbit from a video from Shay from the Art Labs.
Yeah.
And he was in the
Shout
video. Shout out to Shay. So in the video, like one of the young man was saying, you know, like, you got stigma when you like applying for jobs and you're saying that, you know, you're from the Ivy, right? It's like, you know, for your time you start saying that you from the Ivy and a work, right? So it's like, even the people that I guess fit the stereotype of, oh yeah, you likely can be the sort of person that can commit a crime, but then they try to do things the legitimate way, and then because of things like stigma and whatnot, they get screwed. So it's kind of like, well, you want me to do the right thing, but like you got both my legs, I'm my hand tied behind my back trying to swim upstream, like you know,
that is a real thing. Like, people get typecast based on where they come from, how they sound.
Speak like straight Bajan dialect. They come off a certain way.
I actually just saw a video of a Vincentian guy. He is at Oxford, and he's doing his thesis on basically Vinci dialect and how it should be elevated as a language. I don't agree with everything he was saying, but he was looking at Creole languages and how they're not just broken English, they're languages in and of themselves. And like, that could be an interesting thing to help people in communities be recognized and realize that. What?
No, because when you said like the languages of itself, it reminded me of this kind of understanding on TikTok where people say for Bajans that only a Bajan can understand a Bajan. Like Bajans is its own language in itself, right?
Irish,
it's something.
English.
Something like that. But here's the thing, right? I actually saw a video from a Bahamian girl, I want to tell you, she sounded more bitchy than me. Right? Like her like, I don't know if the Bahamian accent is very similar to
the Bahamian accent is similar. It is flat like hers.
Yeah, but I was
our accent is flat. Our country is flat. Barbados ain't flat here. Yeah, do a hill challenge.
Yeah. Right, but I listened to the girl, the homegirl, and I was like, wait. What she sound like? She from here more than I born here, and she up there. Like it was an interesting thing. But like,
funny heights in New Jersey, so you want to fight?
We might.
You saw it here first.
No, but like, yeah. So it was just a funny thing that you told me.
Yeah. That's interesting. But it's a case where I think we have a lot to offer in Barbados. I think there are a lot of tipping points that have brought us to a negative space, but there are a lot of things we can do that can help us to turn around things and be more positive.
Yeah.
Having a functioning capital city, for example, that functions beyond 4:30 into the night. Lights, lighting.
I would like to see the same thing happen for Whitestone too.
Yes. I think economic opportunities, people need to feel like they have opportunities, like they're not stuck in where they are. And I think a lot of people try to resolve that by going overseas. But I even think another tipping point is that people are looking overseas and seeing the chaos that's happening over there and realizing that may no longer be an opportunity. So what do I do?
Like, you ever felt that way in terms of like seeing what the situation is in Barbados and say, maybe you might have better chances overseas? Like,
yes, I did have a thought like that, but meanwhile that is the case, I also personally, if I could get experience overseas, I feel like I would always come back because there's always a chance to make Barbados, like, I don't want to say better, but
to contribute.
Exactly, to contribute,
to have a positive impact,
not to just up and leave and leave it as it is.
That's been my perspective too. Like for me, I love to travel. I love to go different places, see the world, experience different things. But for me, I like to bring that home to Barbados and then implement that here.
I find that there's so many young people who complain that, Barbados is not like overseas. Overseas is just better. But we aren't really doing anything to make it better.
And I think, there's so many things that are different. Like, overseas is overseas. How can we culturally make Barbados its own thing? It doesn't have to be the same as the US. It doesn't have to be the same as Canada or the UK because we're different. So how do we find that cultural... I think a lot of us have grown up watching TV, Netflix and shows, etc. So we see that as that's the standard and we want that. But that works there. That won't necessarily work here. So what works here for us? So I think that's a key thing that we have to think about. But there are positive things we can do, but people need to feel like there are economic opportunities. I hope I said that right because it sounded funny. Social opportunities, social opportunities. They just need to feel some sense of upward mobility. Even like when you go to college, what are the opportunities when I leave college? Who gonna hire me? Like, what are the jobs that exist out there? Those are the things that a lot of people who do go to college are probably wrestling with and grappling with.
And I also noticed that a lot of people, when they apply for jobs, they see the application forms, but it also needs a certain amount of years of experience. And places don't give people the chance to learn.
You gotta have 4 years. You gotta have 4 or 5 years. 4 5 years of experience
when you're 3 years old
for entry level jobs. So it's just like
it's like make it make sense to me. It's like you got a job for a family member. You just want to say, okay, right, no, that has been a thing for forever. But I think that's a totally different thing. But one of the things that you can do is tailor your resume to suit the job. If the job is asking for an associate degree, you have a bachelor's. By default, you have an associate degree level education. I have an associate degree. You don't want to tell them you have a bachelor's. I have an associate degree. You're not lying. You have it.
Or the other option, like.
Well, that escalated quickly. Wow. I'm joking here. That tipping point brought to you by... Clearly he had a moment. Don't lie.
I'm sure there was a pause in between there.
I'm not sure at this point. What is one thing you would like to see Barbados do differently that you think would lead to a positive future? Anything at all?
I think definitely the learning opportunities for those who want jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Give them an environment where they can feel free to make a mistake and learn from it and develop.
On the job?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come out to me when you're trying to blank right now.
You're lying.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I think. Oh, am I drawing a blank too?
I actually So what I would like to see is more activities and more opportunities for people to enjoy life on Barbados that aren't a party or a restaurant or something like that. Like literally, if I want to go to a bookstore, I just hang out at the bookstore. I can hang out at a bookstore or like a park, and it's like the place feels comfortable enough and safe enough and welcoming enough that literally I don't have to do anything else but be at that place to enjoy being it.
Yeah. I think I would like to see us have a society where this is going to sound very general, and I'm going to try to land the plane, but there are more opportunities for people where we don't think that you have to be a specific thing, like you have to be an academic to get through. Like you start to reshape how we view success. You know, you could be successful as a tradesman because tradesmen just make real money. But still we have this negative view of trades. You understand? Like you could be a plumber and be successful. You can be a carpenter, be very successful. A joiner, be very successful. And elevating those things to the same level that we have like doctors and lawyers at.
I don't actually understand why they are so looked down upon, because they are all needed.
Yeah, they're all needed. All needed. When the doctor pick burst, let me tell you.
Exactly.
When the doctor toilet ain't working, call the plumber. Working? Wow. That was country.
And then sanitation workers, those
Correct.
are absolutely
essential jobs.
I personally feel like sanitation workers should be paid more and respected more, because watch how fast they descend into chaos.
Oh yeah.
If people stop picking up trash for 1 week. Just think.
And it has happened.
Just think how fast the world will go to ruin if people stop picking up trash for 1 week.
Yeah.
So that was just it. Like,
so yeah, just so recognizing the different level of smarts.
Yeah.
And you can be smart with your hands.
And it plays.
You can be smart with your voice. You can be smart, with your mind. You can be smart with your body in terms of like physical education and that kind of thing. And putting all these smarts on a level of acceptance, as opposed to this smart is better than that, and you're not really smart, you dumb. No, you're just different. Right? You have a different type of intelligence. And I think that would engage a lot more of the people that we see now. That would be a tipping point. That would help engage a lot of the people that we see now engage in crime. Because a lot of them get discounted from very young.
Yeah.
Right? You're not the traditional smarts. Oh, you just like playing football. Well, go along out there, and they don't pay attention to them in class. I went to a primary school that shall remain nameless. That the boys were told the girls are smarter than the boys by the teachers. And a lot of the boys gave up and didn't try. Me, on the other hand, I was like, oh, challenge accepted. Right? But that's not everybody. So just recognizing you may not be academically smart, but put a football at your feet.
Work magic.
Or a cricket bat in your hand.
Work magic.
Wow. That is your smart. And if we can look at everyone and be like, we elevate people to the level that they could be at, I think that will help create opportunities that people can excel in different ways. And they see opportunities then to be able to go, and start investing. See, Jamaica investing in sports people. Jamaica has invested in tech. Jamaica has taken time to purposely invest in different things. Not to say Jamaica doesn't have crime, because they do.
Yeah.
But if as a small nation, we can look to do those things and diversify what we think is intelligent and smart and what is an opportunity, I think that would really help us to come out of where we are right now.
Yeah. To add to that, in terms of the looking at the grades and the school, I find that some people, it's possible that some people, if you just put them in a situation to like work, they may do better at it, or they may learn quickly rather than looking at how they did in history and how they did in math and all of that. So
yeah. In terms of like looking at the project-based learning, which is essentially what Oceana is about.
I've actually started taking that on for myself, like that method of like, okay, is there's such a thing called like tutorial hell or theory hell, where it's like it's so much information coming at you, right? And it's like you never know, like, okay, when am I going to use this? When am I going to use that? But it's like if you take the opposite approach, and not opposite, but you take a different approach where it's like, okay, I want to do this. Okay, how do I do this? What the steps that lead me to like doing this, right? Like hey,
this is the outcome I need. How do I get there?
Yeah, to give an example, I wanted to make a automated monthly budget planner, right, with graphs and everything using in Google Sheets, right? But I wanted to create it myself because I didn't like the template one, so I was like, let me create one myself. I didn't know how to do that. I never tried doing anything in Google Sheets before. Then I did it, learned the little things I needed to learn, and I ended up learning a lot more than
super user vibes.
Right? And I was like, yo, this is really fun because like when you go through that process,
are fun.
Well, building it was fun, yes, right?
Okay, cool.
But like we went through that process of like, okay, figuring things out and like doing little chinks in the armor, because at the end of it, you don't just have a product, or you not just have something that you worked on. You have something that you wanted to use, but you learned a lot on the way.
Yeah. And then what you learned along the way, you can apply to different things.
Yeah.
And it's not, and you expand your brain and how you think, not just I doing this one thing and A plus B equals C. You learned all the different possibilities.
So to bring everything into conclusion, those are the kind of things we were thinking about in the concepts of both tipping points and also like just our assessment of like the world around us and how we feel about it. Like, how does the world influence us and how do we influence the world? What are some things you've observed in your daily lives, if wherever you're watching, and kind of like how do the outward tipping points affect you, and then how do your inward tipping points affect the world around you? Like, what would you like to see kind of be enhanced in your environment? Just leave it in the comments.
And like little things that you can do to help change your environment.
Exactly, changing your environment. So just leave those things in the comments. And also, as usual, like tell us what kind of topics you think you would want us to address in future episodes. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok,
and YouTube.
YouTube, right? Because it's going on YouTube. And subscribe to us on YouTube.
We haven't done this in a while. We're a bit rusty. Give me a break.
For future updates. So, but thank you. Welcome for being on the show with us, Jodie.
Thank you so much.
Right?
You're welcome.
We are officially back, guys.